Proof 22, The Game of Life. This map shows an area of Harriman, Tennessee, the town that I live in. The block highlighted in red here is the block I grew up on. When I was a kid, two kids next door had a board game called The Game of Life that we used to play all the time. The game had like a spinner, and your token was a car, and you would put pegs in it which were colored pink and blue. The pegs were representative of people. The two in the front seat were the husband and wife, and the pegs in the back seats were the children. So, in the analysis of the game of life, I'll be focusing on 3 points. They'll be at the intersection of Walden and Trenton. I'll be referencing the Harriman Library and the old odds and ends hobby shop. Uh, so Walden, at the end of Walden Street, is the old Rung Medical Center, which I will be referencing. And at the end of Trenton Street is the Christmas Lumber Yard. All right, so the locations on the map are A, the location of my childhood home. B is the corner of Walden and Trenton, where the old odds and ends shop and the Harriman Library are located. C is the old Rung Medical Center building, and D is the Christmas Lumber Yard. Okay, the starting point of this analysis is going to begin at the Harriman Library. At the inside the Harriman Library, there's a glass case which contains a beaver which has been preserved through a method called taxidermy. Therefore, the Harriman Library represents the beaver. The beaver is the name of a movie starring Mel Gibson. Rearrange the letters in Mel Gibson as follows: LOMIEGBSN. Translate these letters. The LO remains the same. MI is M13 plus I, 9 is 22. 22nd letter of the alphabet is V. The EG remains the same. The BS is B2 plus S19 is 21. Letter 21 is U, and the N remains the same. So the letters LO, MI, EG, BS, N become LOV, EG, UN, which is Love Gun. Love Gun was a 1977 album by the band Kiss. In the Kiss timeline, the Love Gun album is a landmark album because it's the first Kiss album that features a song with guitarist Ace Frehley on lead vocals. That song was called Shock Me. So because Love Gun was the album that featured Ace Frehley's debut singing, it has a special connection to Ace Frehley. So when Ace Frehley left the band Kiss, he was replaced by a guitar player named Vinnie Vincent. Vinnie Vincent's makeup was based around the Egyptian Ankh symbol. The Ankh symbol, the meaning of the Ankh symbol is it means life. So what we get from Harriman Library is we get the beaver equals Mel Gibson equals Love Gun equals Ace Frehley's singing debut equals Ace Frehley equals replaced by Vinnie Vincent. Vinnie Vincent's makeup equals Ankh, and Ankh is the Egyptian symbol for life. Therefore, the Harriman Library equals life. Across the street from the Harriman Library is the old Odds and Ends hobby shop. Odds and Ends used to sell books, dice, and other supplies for a game called Dungeons and Dragons, which I used to play with a group of players who met at the Temperance Building, which is located between the Harriman Library and the Rung Medical Center. So because while living in the house on Trenton Street, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and because the Dungeons and Dragons supplies were sold at the Odds and Ends building, the Odds and Ends building represents Dungeons and Dragons, which is a game, and so Odds and Ends equals game. When I lived in the house on Trent Street, my father was a roofer. He used to buy us roofing supplies from Christmas Lumber Company. Among the supplies he used to buy were bundles of shingles, which were stored down at the the Christmas lumber yard located at the end of Trenton, a couple blocks from the house where we lived. Uh, and so there's a connection of the house I lived in on Trent Street to the Christmas lumber yard. Now, the main thing stored in the Christmas lumber yard is, of course, lumber. And one of the most common types of lumber is the board. So Christmas lumber yard equals lumber, and lumber equals board. So Christmas lumber yard equals board. So what we get here is D, Christmas lumber yard, represents board. The old odds and ends shop located at B represents game, and the Harriman Library located at B represents life. And so we get board game life. So as I've explained, the Harriman Library has a connection to the album Love Gun via the beaver in the glass case. Okay, of course, Love Gun, as I've mentioned, has a connection to Ace Frehley. Love Gun was released in 1977. The following year, Ace and the other members of Kiss released solo albums. On the covers of these solo albums, the hair of each band member was backlit with that band member's theme color. I think the solo albums were actually the introduction of these theme colors. Ace's theme color was blue. So what we get here is we get Harriman Library equals the Beaver, equals Mel Gibson, equals Love Gun, equals Ace Frehley, equals blue. Another interpretation of Love Gun is I own a cassette tape of Love Gun, which I bought at a pawn shop. I'm pretty sure it's a bootleg tape. It has on the insert of the cassette, it has a picture of the cartoon character Pink Panther. So the Pink Panther is a reference to the color pink. So from Love Gun, we get references to the colors blue and pink. Now, on the song listings for this cassette tape that I got from the pawn shop, there is a typo listed for the song title Christine 16. It actually says Christmas 16. So the typo is they replaced the name Christine with the word Christmas. So in relation to Love Gun, this means that the names Christmas and Christine are interchangeable. So that means the Christmas Lumber Company can also be considered the Christine Lumber Company. But regardless, this typo puts special emphasis on the name Christine, and that Christine is the name missing from the song listing on the cassette insert. So Christine is the name of a movie about a car named Christine. So what we get here, so the Harriman Library, the beaver inside the library represents Love Gun. And from Love Gun, we get 4 key points. The first key point is life. The Ankh symbol from Vinnie Vincent's makeup design is the Egyptian symbol for life. Vinnie Vincent replaced Ace Frehley. Ace Frehley's lead vocal debut was on the album Love Gun. And so Love Gun is a reference to life. Love Gun has a special connection to Ace Frehley, whose solo album color is blue. So from Love Gun, we get blue. My bootlegged cassette copy of Love Gun has a picture of the Pink Panther on it. This is a reference to pink. On the song listing of the cassette insert, there's a typo. Christine 16 is listed as Christmas 16, so the name Christine is missing from the song listing. And Christine is a movie about a car, and so from Love Gun we get car. So the key points we get from Love Gun are life, pink, blue, and car. In the game of life, your token is a car into which you place blue and pink pieces, which represent people. So looking at the map, when you connect all the key points, you have a beginning and end. Okay, so as I've explained, the Harriman Library represents life by way of the Love Gun, Ace Frehley, Vinnie Vincent equation. The Harriman Library is located at the corner of Walden and Trenton. And so if you go to the end of Trenton Street, there's the Christmas Lumber Yard. And if you go to the end of Walden Street, there's the old Rome Medical Center building. And so I'm going to explain how the buildings located at the ends of these two streets connect to the fact that the Harriman Library is a symbol for life. Okay, so first is the Christmas Lumber Yard. Christmas is a holiday that celebrates the story of the Virgin Mary giving birth to the baby Jesus. And so it represents the beginning of life. It represents birth. The Christmas Lumberyard, Christmas contains the name Christ, but the lumberyard sells lumber, nails, and hammers. And the main store of the Christmas Lumberyard is located on Roan Street. Take the word Roan, rearrange the letters to R-O-E and then A-N. The R-O-E remains the same. The A-N is N, 14 minus A1 is 13. Letter 13 is M. The A and the N become M. Put that with the R-O-E to get Rome. So Christmas Lumber Company represents Roan Street. Roan translates to Rome. The Christmas Lumberyard represents hammer, nails, and lumber. And then the name Christmas contains the name Christ. So from all this, we'll get Rome, hammer, nails, lumber, and Christ. And these are all key words associated with the story of the crucifixion, which represents the death of Christ. So Christmas Lumberyard can be used to represent both the birth of Christ and the death of Christ, and therefore it represents birth and death. So then at the other end of the line is the old Rome Medical Center building. The Rome Medical Center was a hospital. And so the Christmas Lumberyard represents birth and death. The old Rome Medical Center building represents hospital. And so we get a connection. And in between these two is the Harriman Library, which represents life. And so what this means between these three locations is that life begins with birth, and this birth often takes place inside of a hospital. Life ends with death, and this death often takes place in a hospital. So the Rome Medical Center part of the map represents the hospital where often a person's life begins and ends. The Christmas Lumberyard, through the story of Christ, represents birth and death, which is the beginning and end of life. And then the Harriman Library, through the Love Gun, then events Ace Frehley equation, represents life itself. And so the line on the map going from Christmas Lumberyard to Harriman Library to the old Rome Medical Center represents a street. It goes up Trenton Street and then makes a left and goes up Walden Street in the direction of the Rome Medical Center. So the line on the map is a street, a two-way street. A street can also be considered a road. And so what this means is the three locations represent the beginning and end of life. The hospital, the old hospital building, represents the location where this beginning and ending often take place. The library represents life itself, and the street represents a road. So it's like the road of life that you travel. It begins and it ends, and often this beginning and ending take place at a place called a hospital.